Agozi's son was discharged from the hospital, and when they returned home, she was shocked to see Ugonna sleeping unbothered. She took a deep sigh and ignored him, instead going on to prepare a meal. She had bought some things with the remaining money left from what the pastor's wife had given to her. Her son, whom they named Uche, was deep asleep by now, and it wasn't until she sat down to eat that Ugonna woke up. Agozi, get me something to eat. I am hungry, Ugonna said casually. Agozi's heart skipped a bit as anger started to boil inside of her. How insensitive could he be? Which food? The one he brought money for, or what? He wasn't even bothered about his son who had been sick. What had possessed this man, for God's sake? But Agozi did not say anything out. She tried to calm herself down and went into the kitchen to get his food. But as she dropped his food, she couldn't hold back again. Are you not going to ask about your son? Uche was sick and I kept on calling you to come over. We didn't even have money to pay for his bills. Are you not going to ask how he is? How we were able to come back? Agozi asked without catching a breath. Ugonna started to eat his food unbothered, as if he didn't hear her. After a moment he said, Are you people not back now? Is it not that I am seeing sleeping soundly over there? If something was wrong you wouldn't be here now. Agozi beat her lips in anger, because if she voiced out what she had in mind, the roof would come down. She knew she still had to convince him to go see the pastor and his wife. With her thinking of it now, maybe it is really time they visited the pastor. After all, he was the one who saw the vision and convinced her to marry him. He needs to see the outcome of his vision. After Ugonna had finished eating, Agozi cleared the table and then sat down to discuss Honey, the pastor's wife. We spoke today and she said they have not been seeing us, that we should come and see them. Ugonna looked at Agozi silently, and without saying a word to her, he went off to bed. Agozi sat still, confused. What is going on in his mind now? I pray he agrees to go. He just has to go. The next morning, as Ugonna was about leaving for work, Agozi ran to meet him. Honey? Good morning. You're going out already? You didn't drop money for us to eat today. But Ugonna looked at her. Didn't you go running your mouth to the pastor's wife yesterday? I am very sure that after hearing your tragic story, she would have given you a lot of money to last you for 1 year, so don't disturb me, Ugonna warned and walked out. Agozi was shocked and also speechless. No, this is getting serious. This man will never agree to see the pastor. I need to tell Mommy to beg Daddy to call Ugonna by himself. Maybe when he tells him to come by himself he will agree, just as expected. The pastor called Ugonna, and only then did he agree to go visit them. The following weekend Ugonna and his family went over to meet the pastor. They were warmly welcomed, and then the real meeting began. Brother Ugonna, there are some things that I want to tackle concerning your marriage. I believe that marriage is meant to be a blessing to both partners, even though there will be some challenges, but it is better when that challenge is from outside rather than within. That way it is easier to tackle it as a team. I remember how everything started, and I know that God was at the center of it all. So if there is any challenge you're facing, please let us know so we can know how to help you, the pastor said. But Ugonna kept a straight face and replied, Thank you for your concern, sir. But there is no problem in our home. We are doing just fine. The pastor's wife looked at Ugonna and then at Agozi. She could see that Agozi was trying so hard to hide her emotions, so she chipped in. Brother Ugonna, you know that most times this marriage is not usually the same for men and women. The women seem to have it difficult most times. I was surprised when Sister Agozi called me last week about your sick son. She was really in distress at the time, and maybe if I hadn't helped when I did, things would have escalated. Brother Ugonna, we are your spiritual parents and you shouldn't hide anything from us. Sister Agozi, I want you to be free, voice your concerns. Let us know where the devil is digging from. Agozi adjusted in her seats. She had a lot to say, but she was afraid how Ugonna is going to take it if she exposes him in front of outsiders. But then what more could he do? He was already scaring her, so it was better to get it out once and for all. Thank you, sir. Ma, thank you for this opportunity. I remember when my husband came to ask for my hand in marriage, I brought his name to you for prayers and guidance, and as God may have it, it was confirmed that he was the one for me. But sir, I am sorry to say I don't think it was God that spoke, Agozi said and bust out into tears. I know there are challenges in marriage, but my own is far beyond that. It is as if the devil is at the center of this marriage. The way my husband changed overnight still makes me shocked. Up till now he stared me. Even when I was pregnant he doesn't care about me or this child. But you need to see him eating in my presence as if he's a king. He will give me 200 naira to cook, but then he will go out and spend over 10,000 naira on food. Is that not wickedness? I am just enduring it because I know I went into this myself. But every day I doubt if it was God that really spoke. From what I know, the blessings of God added no sorrow. Agozi went on and on, bearing all that she had been holding in her hearts. The pastor and his wife were shocked. The pastor then gave his wife a sign to give him privacy as he wanted to speak with Ugonna privately. She nodded and then took Agozi out. She took Agozi to another room where she celled her sister Agozi. "I'm so sorry for all you have been through. We all didn't know about this side of Brother Ugonna, but I strongly believe something is wrong here. Do you know if he keeps other women? You know men can change when they meet someone else," but Agozi shook her head. "I don't think Ugonna has another woman." The pastor's wife then continued, "It is well, God will settle it. But I need you to use wisdom in all of this. Get something to do since you just had a baby. I believe a business will be more suitable. I will talk to the pastor to see a way of supporting you to start up a business, but please, just follow your husband with wisdom and patience. And also pray without say a son. Prayer is the only solution." Agozi nodded and thanked her. Since the pastor was still talking with Ugonna, Agozi decided to stroll along the streets to take some fresh air, and as she was minding her business, she met an old friend who updated her on the happenings in the area, and that was how Agozi got to know both the news she was interested in and the one she was not interested in. However, two of the news broke her heart to shreds. Her elder brother Eugene had gotten married, and as if that was not enough, Izu, her pastor's suitor, had also gotten married and moved abroad with his new wife. She couldn't have known because Ugonna had ordered her to change her SIM card and got a new number. It was as if he wanted to cut her off from the world she knew. Agozi held on tightly to her son as she tried so hard to fight the tears from pouring down. At this point, she wished things had been different. She wished she had not gone against her brother. She wished she had not rejected Izu. Who knows, maybe her story would be different, but yeah, she was stuck with the firstborn of the devil. Yes, Ugonna was the same blood and flesh with the devil. He is a wolf. He deceived her. He deceived all of them. At that instant, a word came to Agozi's mind. Divorce, and she immediately shouted, "God forbid, I can't. No, God hates divorce. I don't want to go against God. Divorce is out of this option. I will fight this. Yes, that is what I will do. If this is the persecution I have to face in life, I will do it. I will fight to make this work." With that, Agozi became more determined and returned back to meet Ugonna, who was already waiting for her. Together they returned home in silence, and Agozi hoped greatly that there would be a change. Ugonna seemed remorseful, and she wondered what the pastor must have told him, since he did not even get angry at her or try to accuse her of talking too much. That same week, Agozi received a call from the pastor's wife about the money she had promised to give her, and miraculously too, Ugonna gave her some money to add up to start a business of her choice. Agozi was grateful and thanked them both. Surely the visit had been productive. Apart from the money he gave her for the business, Ugonna had also started to provide more. He would return home with foodstuffs and also give her a reasonable amount of money to cook with. It did not take long before Agozi started the business, and for the moment, it seemed as though life was going on well for her. Business was going on well, and Ugonna was still providing for them. Her son was already 6 months old now and was growing well too. But then, Agozi began to notice a pattern again. For some days Ugonna had not said a word to her, and neither would he drop off money for her. What he normally does was to remain in bed, obviously pretending to be asleep, until Agozi goes out for business. That way she wouldn't be able to ask him for money. By the time she returned home in the evening, she wouldn't meet him at home, and so she would have to use her own money to cook for the house. Just when Agozi must have finished cooking and putting her son to sleep, she would hear a knock on the door, and when she goes to open it, she will see Ugonna standing there with a mean face that seemed to say, "Don't even talk to me." Of course, she would also give him dinner with enough meat as the man of the house. Agozi kept doing this patiently with the hope that Ugonna would be moved by her kindness and have a change of heart soon. But it seemed Ugonna was sold out for bad. In the midst of these things, Agozi soon found out that she was pregnant again. The news sent chills down her spine as she remembered what she went through the last time she was pregnant. When she told Mama Kai about the pregnancy, Mama Kai was very angry at her. "How could you, Agozi? Is it that sweet that you can't think? Even if you don't love yourself, why bring these innocent children into such a toxic space? Can he be a good father to them, or don't you think they deserve a good father as well as a good mother? I am so disappointed in you right now." Agozi sat still silently, accepting all the blame. She too was disappointed in herself. Uche had not even felt the love of his father for once, and yes, she was about to have another child for this same man. "Mama? I don't know. What should I do now? Please, I am just confused." Mama Kai looked at Agozi. obviously irritated at how slow she was, but then, she understood that not everyone was wise in this world, and that was why this monsters kept on having lots of victims. See, Agozi. The deed has been done. You are lucky that you have a business now, so this pregnancy won't really be like the previous one, but for your information, let this not repeat itself. Immediately you put to bed. Make sure you go for a very strong birth control method, or did your pastor preach against that too? Agozi shook her head shamefully. I have been meaning to ask you yourself, what is your plan about this whole thing? I mean your long-term plan. Because from the look of things, this your husband is gone. I can assure you that this is who he is. He can't change. Have you considered an escape plan? You are still young, so it is not too late to pick up your life again, and that's your pastor friend. Have you heard from him again? Mama Kai asked curiously. Agozi sighed sadly. You mean Izu? I heard he's married and has left the country with his wife. Mama Kai shouted in shock. Are you serious, child? Oh, just imagine. See what you have lost. You were supposed to be in that position, but no, you chose an ugly monster. Now look at your life. Chai. This one really pain me oh. So that fine man is now married? HMMN. Anyway, in life, some people miss their destiny, but one mistake in life does not end one's life. That is why you need to act now. What is your escape plan? Agozi looked lost for a second. Escape? Do you mean divorce? God forbid. I will never. Mummy, please. My faith is against that. Mama Kai looked at Agozi unbelievably. Your faith? You still talk about faith? Do you really have a faith? That same faith that landed you in the lion's den. That is the same faith you're talking about, right? Chai. If you were my daughter, I would have used rope to drag you out of that man's house. Did he use charm on you? Who told you that marriage is do or die? You want to kill yourself? Oh, because he hasn't started beating you? For someone with his kind of heart, how long will it take before he starts to beat you? You better give yourself sense. See, this life is once, Mama Kai warned, but all the words went into one of Agozi's ears and came out of the other ear. She would never divorce Ugona. She would never give the devil a chance to rejoice. Instead she would pray. As such, Agozi erased every thought of divorce from her mind. She soon informed Ugona that she was pregnant, and his reaction was one of indifference. Okay, that is good. It is not your first time now, so you know what to do. Agozi's heart flinched, but she smiled and kept calm. She would fight this battle and win, but what she didn't know was the angle the battle was coming from. Agozi could have sworn that Ugona was not seeing any woman, if not for one faithful morning when he was having his bath and his phone rang. She ignored it at first, but then the person kept calling, and out of curiosity she picked up the call to tell the person to be patient. But the voice she heard threw her off balance. Ugona. Why haven't you been picking my calls? I hope you're not trying to avoid me because of the 100,000 naira I asked for. See, if you don't give me that money today, I won't let you touch me again, and you will have to use double of that money to beg me. Hello? Ugona. Are you there? Agozi remained silent as the lady on the other end ranted, said, and she clutched her chest in shock. No. This is not true. Ugona cannot do this to me. He's cheating on me? When? How? Why? No. You have failed. The devil is a liar. I won't let you destroy my home. Agozi stood firm with her arms akimbo, and as Ugona came out of the bathroom, she waited for him to put his clothes on before confronting him. How long have you been cheating on me? How long, Ugona? She shouted. Ugona looked at her like a clown. Are you going mad? Who are you talking to like that? But Agozi was ready for the roof to come down that day. Ugona, you are the one. Who is going mad? You want to give a woman 100,000 naira when you have not given me 500 naira for months? Ugona. My God will punish you. You are a beast. Your heart is black. Why did you come for me? Were you saint? If you think I will allow you to go and meet that woman, then you are dreaming. You will not go anywhere today. Ugona tried to push past Agozi, who was blocking his way, but he couldn't. And then within the twinkle of an eye, Agozi was lying on the floor. Ugona had given her several fast blows that took her unaware, and she collapsed to the floor. It was the cry of her son that brought her back to consciousness. Hours later, Agozi managed to get up, but her head was banging very hard. The first thing she checked was between her legs, and when she didn't see any sign of blood, she was relieved. The pregnancy was still intact. She couldn't go out to her shop that day again as she was in severe pain and her face was swollen. She had to massage it with warm water and look after her son alone as Ugonna did not return home that night. Surely he had gone to that woman's house. The next day Agosia prepared to go to her shop, and as she walked past Mama Kai's shop, she wanted to avoid greeting her, but Mama, who had seen her, called out to her, "Agosi, I didn't see you yesterday. What happened? Wait, oh. What happened to your face? It look a bit swollen, and your eyes? Don't lie to me. Who did this to you?" Agosi looked downwards and avoided Mama Kai's eyes, but Mama Kai pressed on, "Don't tell me your husband did this to you, Agosi. No. No. How it gotten to this? He now beats you after starving you. He also beats you? Oh, Agosi. What is this? Why are you allowing this? I thought your generation knows better than ours. This is not life." Agosi couldn't hold back the tears anymore, and she let them pour. "Ugonna is cheating on me. He claims not to have money but is spending hugely on that woman. Who knows how many more he has? What does he want? What is he looking for? Who did I offend that cursed me with this? Even the pastor I would have reported him to. Ugonna has blocked the pastor's number. Who do I turn to now?" Mama Kai felt pity for Agosi, but she knew her pity was useless if the victim refused to take a bold step. "Agosi, I will keep on telling you this. Nobody cursed you. You were just blinded, and you're still blinded. Ugonna has always been like this. Prayer can't change him because he's not under any manipulation. This is who he is. You just need to believe him and stop living in denial. Only him can decide to change, and from what I am seeing here, he will never change because he enjoys playing the devil. Maybe he targeted you and married you because he knows you are easy to deceive and control. He wanted a family, but he wanted it with a woman who would swallow all his excesses. And everyone knows that the church is where you would easily get homely girls who would rather die in marriage than to walk away. Yes. That is why these demons targets the church. They pretend to be born again. They don't mind going to that church consistently for years just to get their victim, and the moment they achieve their aim, they will change overnight, making you wonder if they are under manipulation or attack. But the truth is, they are the manipulators themselves. They are the attackers. They are the weapons fashioned against you, and if you don't run, they will finish you and spit you out dry. "Agosi, take my advice and run," Mama Kai advised, but Agosi cleaned her tears off and stood up. "Thank you for your concern, Ma. I should start going to my shop now." With that, Agosi stood up and left. She was not ready to listen to another demonic advice of the voice. Marriage was for better or worse, so she would stay and fight moving on. Ugonna took it as a habit to always beat Agosi at the slightest provocation, and surprisingly, no matter how much he beat her up, the child in her womb was never affected. It was as if the baby already knew the tough life he was coming to meet, so he was already prepared for it. Months later, Agosi gave birth to another baby boy again, and he was named Heibuka. However, in spite of having two sons, Ugonna didn't see the need to be responsible one bit. He even became worse. He would boldly stay away from home for days, and when he returned he would act as if all was okay. Agosi had become used to it. She had accepted her present, but she was still hopeful that things would change one day, and so she would pray without ceasing, breaking and casting away whatever manipulation that was at work in her marriage. Her two boys were growing quickly, and they too started to see their father for who he was. Ugonna made no effort to even pretend in front of them. One evening, Agosi and the boys were eating dinner. They were 5 and 4 years old by now. The soup they were eating was their regular watery soup because Ugonna had given Agosia only 75 naira before going out that morning, and sales had been bad at the shop for her that day. So she had to make do with what she had, and the watery soup was their savior. They were halfway into the meal when Ugonna entered and asked Agosi to get him a plate. When she brought the plate, Ugonna poured out a large quantity of grilled chicken that was more than enough for 4 people. He drew it closer to himself and set out to eat it alone. As he ate, his children kept looking at him, hoping for him to call them to join him, but much to their disappointment, he ignored them all. It was when he was about to take the last piece of chicken that his first Sona couldn't bear it anymore and spoke up, "Daddy, please give us chicken." But Ugonna looked at him disgustedly and then turned to shout at Agosi, "What have you been teaching these children? Agosi, you have been teaching them to become beggars like you, right? You better take them away from my presence now before I will descend on all of you. Go inside now." Agosi fight back the tears that were welling up in her eyes and went to put the boys to sleep, but the next morning, after Ugonna left the house, Uche asked his mother, "Mommy, why is Daddy selfish? He's always shouting at us and he never gives us anything. Is he really our daddy?" Agosi was shocked at the question, but then she forced a smile. "You can't say that. Daddy is not selfish. He's just angry because of some people at work. Let us just pray for him that God will give him a better job and plenty of money too, so that he would not be angry again. But Habuka, the second son and the toughest among the two, snared, Mommy, if I catch Daddy N. You think I don't used to see him beating you? Don't worry. When I grow up I will beat him for you. And I will take you and run away where he will never see you again. He's wicked like that monster we used to watch in our cartoons. I don't even like him. Agozi was speechless. What did she do to deserve this? It was not enough that she had married a monster. Now one of her sons had taken after him. Ever since Habuka started to express himself, Agozi had noticed traces of Ugona's character in him, but she would always rebuke it, and convince herself that he was just a child. But at this rate, if this boy grows up with this mind, he might just turn out to be another, or even worse. Keep quiet, Habuka. Have I not warned you to stop speaking that way? Where is your heart of love? Even when someone treats you badly, are you not supposed to show love? But Habuka murmured love. As if Daddy knows what love is, Agozi knew then that it would take more than just her efforts to raise this boy's well, especially Habuka. Unfortunately for her, their father was not concerned. Who would she run to now? Brother Eugene? No. Brother Eugene is very angry at me. He warned me about this. Besides, he had disowned me. I just pray that he forgives me one day, Agozi thought to herself. One weekend, Ugona returned home early and informed Agozi that he would be going to another state for a contract he got. Agozi was surprised. Really? That is good news. How long will you be gone for? She asked, and Ugona told her that it would be for a very long time. Maybe for a month or so. Since the job was a huge one, Agozi was not comfortable about it, but she wished him well and begged him to be checking up on them from time to time. She then helped him pack up his bags, and very early the next day, he left the house. He gave Agozi 10,000 naira for upkeep, promising to send them more regularly. Agozi thanked him, and she and the boys waved him goodbye. As he left, unknown to them, that it was the last time they would ever see him. Agozi didn't find it hard to adjust, since she had always lived like a single parent. She took charge of the home, sorting the bills and looking after the boys. Ugona had called her the day after he left that he arrived safely, but since that day, she had not heard from him. Agozi was really worried, but unfortunately she couldn't get to him as his number was unreachable. One full month passed, and yet Agozi had not seen Ugona or heard from him. The boys too were asking about their father, but she kept on giving them one excuse or the other to cover up for him, until one day about 4 months later, Agozi received a call from an unknown number. Hello. Is this Agozi, Ugona's wife? You may not know me, but I know you. Use this information to do whatever suits you. I just saw your husband with a woman who is obviously pregnant. I traced them, and when I asked from reliable sources, I was told that he is married to the said woman. They are in Umaya currently, and from the look of things, your husband has no plan to return. Agozi clenched her heart as she heard the news. Her deepest fear had finally come to reality. Ugona had abandoned them. Oh no. This can't be. Why would Ugona do that? What would she tell her children? Thankfully the boys had gone to school, and she was just about to go to her shop when the call came in. She broke down and wept her heart out. Why me? What did I ever do to deserve this? I have done nothing but love and support Ugona. I even lost my only family because of him, yet this is how he pays me? Ugona, it will never be well with you. You have finally destroyed my life. Where do I start from? Agozi cried and cried, and she couldn't go out again that day. When her sons returned from school, they saw their mother on the floor, and even though Agozi wanted to hide the truth from them, she couldn't help but bust out, "Your father has abandoned us. He ran away to be with another woman. What will I do now?" Even though the boys were still young, they understood what their mother had said, and they couldn't control the anger that was building up in them. They swore to make their father pay for everything he had done when they grew up, but for now they would console their mother and stand by her. Unfortunately for her, even though Ugona was no longer in their lives, he had planted his seed, and that seed was out to frustrate her. Habuka was the exact replica of Ugona, and he made sure that both his mother and elder brother had no peace in that house. He would go into the kitchen and finish the whole food, not considering if any other person had eaten. And even if Agozi tries to correct him, he would walk out on her. He wasn't even up to 10 years old yet he was uncontrollable. Agozi was tired at this point and didn't know what to do. She confided in Mama Kai, who gave her the only solution she felt would be effective. Agozi, haven't you suffered enough? You claim to be a Christian, but you pretend to not know about the story of the prodigal son. Go back to your brother. He's the only one that can help you. Beg him, ask for his forgiveness. I believe he will accept you back. Stop holding back. You need a man to help you look after those boys so that you don't bite your fingers in old age. You have lost out in marriage. Do you also want to lose out in motherhood? These boys are your future. The earlier you act, the better for you. That night, Agozi pondered on what Mama Kai had told her. Ever since she left years ago, she had always thought about her brother. She had hoped and prayed that maybe one day he would no longer be angry with her. Maybe he would forgive her, but she had never summoned the courage to go meet him. Maybe it was time. Maybe she needed to face her fears. Determined to salvage the remaining life she had, Agozi set out to go together with her sons to locate her brother. When they arrived at the house, she was disappointed when one of the neighbors told her that he had moved out years ago. Fortunately for her, someone who knew where he moved to gave her the address. She immediately located the place, and much to her shock, it was a really big house, obviously owned by her brother. At that moment she felt like weeping. She had been living like a hopeless pig when her brother was in paradise. She took a deep breath and then knocked on the gate with her sons. The gatesman opened the gate, and after they introduced themselves, he let them in. Agozi stood in the luxurious sitting room looking lost and obviously in disbelief. She looked at herself from head to toe and she was ashamed. She didn't fit in at all. She was still in her 30s, but she looked like one who was in her 50s, as the troubles of life had made her age faster. When Eugene came out, he was shocked to see his sister standing in front of him after so many years. Agozi did not even wait for him to say anything. She quickly fell to her knees and began to cry and beg for his forgiveness, expressing how much regret she had and how she deserved all the hell she had been through. Eugene shook his head pitifully and lifted his sister. After they sat down, he still couldn't find his words for a few minutes. Agozi, look at you. Is this what that man turned you into? Ah. This life is really deeper than what we see. You wanted to go and see. And now you are the one testifying. Since you're ready to return home, I won't reject you. You're still my sister, my only blood. You are welcome back. Are this your sons? Eugene asked, and Agozi nodded amid tears. She then signaled to Uche and Heibuka to go greet their uncle. As Eugene embraced them, he looked at Heibuka for a moment and then said, "This one is Ugona's replica. He reminds me of what I felt that day when he came to see me. I hope you have started praying and acting now. You don't want another woman to suffer what you suffered when she ends up marrying your son." Agozi flinched but didn't say anything. Truly, her brother had a very active spirit. Heibuka was even doing worse than his father at this age. Agozi wanted to return home, but her brother told her to stay over and rest. His wife then took them in and gave them a room. They stayed for a few days, and Eugene noticed the strange character Heibuka was portraying. And then on the day Agozi was supposed to return home with her sons, he dropped the bombshell. "Agozi, you will return alone. These boys will stay with me, especially Heibuka. Needs to be handled accordingly, and you can't do that. You are free to visit anytime you want, but I will advise you to stay and rest. I will give you some money to add to your business. Just take each day at a time and continue to pray that your sons turn out well. As for Ugona, just consider him dead." Agozi did not know how to take the news. Her sons had been her comfort since Ugona left, and she didn't know how life would be without them. But yet she knew that this was for their good. They needed a man in their life so that they don't turn out like their father, or even worse. She nodded and thanked her brother. It wasn't easy for the boys too when their mother left them behind, especially for Heibuka, who had been used to the soft hand his mother gave him. But within 1 month of being with Uncle Eugene, his head started to reformat, as Uncle Eugene tolerated no nonsense and was quick to catch any negative trait and correct it accordingly. The boys grew with their cousins, and years later they were in a better place. Ish, the elder son, had gone to the university to study medicine and was now a resident doctor in one of the specialist hospitals in town, while Heibuka had chosen to go into business. His uncle took him to a businessman who was able to put him in line, and when he gained his freedom from training, he started his own business too. Apart from that, he had learned the values of humility, patience, love, and the beauty in sharing. He had been able to fight against the negative traits that were in his bloodline and overcome them. Uncle Eugene too made sure that they all grew in the way of the Lord and became true and real Christians. As for Agozi, she was happy living alone, and whenever she goes to visit any of her sons, her heart was usually filled with gratitude at what they've become. They looked nothing like where they had come from. She had not heard anything about Ugona for years, until recently when she received news that he had been very sick, and after all treatments failed, his new wife kicked him out of the house. Some said he had HIV, while others said it was an unexplainable sickness. Nobody would care for him, and so he was taken to his village and dumped there. It had been over 2 years since she heard the news, so who knows, maybe he survived the illness or was already dead. Thank you so much for following this story. It is my earnest prayer that this story reaches out to as many people as possible. This is the story of one unfortunate woman, but we all know that there are many unfortunate women in this same condition. Now, instead of us to blame Ngozi for the mistakes she had already made and its painful repercussion, I want us to reflect on the lessons her story teaches us, and as bitter as it may sound, many might still fall victims to this. But I believe by sharing the story I might be saving someone, maybe one woman or maybe two. So I beseech you all to please share the story out. This is not fiction. Share to your sisters, your daughters, your friends in your church, your workplace, everywhere. People need to be alert and pray for the gift of discernment. These agents of darkness are everywhere looking for who to devour in the name of marriage. So just as the Bible says in Ephesians 6 verse 18, watch and pray at all times. So please share with me what you learned from the story. What part of Ngozi's journey stood out for you? If you found value in this story, give this story a thumbs up and share with your loved ones too. Also subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now, until I bring another story your way. Bye.